Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the new movie, Madam Web. This movie is getting picked apart by critics, and most deservedly so. But you deserve to know why. The synopsis is as follows. Cassandra Webb is a New York City paramedic who starts to show signs of clairvoyance. Forced to confront revelations about her past, she must protect 3 young women from a mysterious adversary who wants them dead. So without further ado, let's get into 6 things that make a movie great. 1. The plot. This movie opens with a scene of Cassandra's mom deep in a jungle looking for a spider who supposedly has healing properties and other things. It then flashes forward to Cassandra as a paramedic living her everyday life, and through some mumbo jumbo ends up tangling with a dude named Ezekiel. Ezekiel has been bit by a spider and is able to see his own death, which comes at the hands of 3 spider women. So as he makes it his goal to hunt down these 3 spider women, Cassandra, after learning she has some sort of power of kind of predicting the future, makes it her job to protect these 3 other spider women. And if they had done it right, honestly, there's a decent plot in there somewhere. But instead, what they chose to do was make this movie extremely boring. Cassandra trying to discover what power she does have is a very confusing concept that is never clearly explained in the movie. You don't know how her power is triggered or what its parameters are, and you can never see it coming. In addition to that, the plot is just super clunky. I'm gonna protect these 3 girls and take them here, and then I'm gonna leave them, and then I'm gonna come get them, but they're not there, they're over here, so I have to save them, but I'm gonna take them somewhere else, and then I'm gonna leave them. And it's just like, oh, why are we doing this? It's such a mess. This movie's marketing pulled an Amazing Spider-Man 2 just to draw its audience in. And I'm gonna break it to you because to me it's not a spoiler, it's something I'd wanna know when walking into the theater. The only time that you see the spider women in suits is when Ezekiel is seeing his own death, which happens maybe once or twice in the entire movie. I'm talking about 30 seconds of spider woman suit action. They're only human in this movie and they don't get their powers, which not only added to this movie being boring as all get out, but it also added to my frustration when leaving the theater. The marketing is deceptive because they're trying to pull an audience in, but they're gonna find out very quickly why you shouldn't do that. The story overall is very bad, and the outcome at the end is laughable. Plot gets a huge thumbs down. 2 is family friendliness. Madam Web is rated PG-13. There's a mild bit of profanity. There's a very, very mild bit of action because there's almost no action in this movie. Kung Fu Panda has more action than this movie. There's one suggested sex scene that doesn't show anything, and you see a couple people get murdered and one guy get hit by cars repeatedly. And believe it or not, there is no undertone of hating men in this movie like some people thought it might be. It's just, honest to God, not a good movie. So for me, family friendliness gets a 50-50. 3 is acting and script. There's not a whole lot to talk about here, and at the same time there is. The acting performances in this movie are like chewing cardboard. Like legitimately, they're one step above Kristen Stewart in Twilight. All of the acting performances, terrible, boring, unenthusiastic. Everyone, including Dakota Johnson, delivered things at a deadpan voice level, like they were just reading lines off of a page and didn't want to be there. Tahar Rahim, who plays Ezekiel, was one of the worst acting performances I've seen. His voice was extremely weird, and the way he read lines too was comical. The only good performance in this movie was Adam Scott. He was the only one that seemed to be having fun and actually acting. Everybody else freaking sucked. And the script? You get really familiar with the script of this movie because over 3/4 of the film is literally just dialogue. It's shallow and empty and stupid and meaningless. The acting and script in this movie should serve as an example of what not to do with the film. So acting and script gets a thumbs down. 4 is character development. This movie tries to do something with character development in the form of parents not being around, and that somehow provides some sort of connection or camaraderie between the girls. But it doesn't. You don't care about any of these characters, and you don't buy that they all sort of just have this sisterhood at a certain point. Because despite the 3/4 of movie being dialogue, there's no chemistry between these characters. Anya has a couple annoying moments where she's trying to be educated in math and science, but it's a gimmick that comes up twice in the movie and just isn't visited again. The character of Maddie Franklin did her best impersonation of the skateboarding kid from Black Adam who ruined the movie. And Ezekiel was one of the worst villains that I have seen in a long time. For me, character development gets a huge thumbs down. 5 is visuals and CGI. Oh my Lanta. The camera work in this movie is embarrassing. It was borderline Bollywood cinematography, and I was just like, what is going on? This feels really B-rated. None of the other visuals are interesting at all. Of the 2 or 3 very short and brief action sequences in this movie, nothing cool happens. This movie is embarrassingly bad, as are its visuals and CGI. For me, visuals and CGI get a huge thumbs down. And 6 is rewatchability. Madam Web is an hour and 54 minutes long, and is an hour and 54 minutes long of being disappointed and wishing that the movie would end or that your life would. This movie is an embarrassment to cinema. The premise and marketing for the film made me excited for it. I would love to see 4 Spider-Women duking it out, saving the world, and making a name for themselves in the Sony Spider-Verse. Instead, what we got is a film that I hope decides to not be canon in the Sony Spider-Verse because it's terrible. Not that there's much to write home about the Sony Spider-Verse anyway, but I wanted to hope and I was greatly disappointed. I will never be watching this movie again. Rewatchability gets a thumbs down. With all these areas considered, I have to give Madam Web a 1 out of 10. The 1 out of 10 is purely Adam Scott, and that is it. The rest of this movie was a total freaking mess. Every area was terrible. Every area was an embarrassment to cinema. And it should be illegal to market a movie the way that they did in light of what this movie is actually. Mean Girls got away with marketing their movie as an actual movie and not a musical. And oddly enough, it's still my favorite movie of the year so far. There's not a lot of good coming out right now, and all we can do is hang on and hope that Dune Part 2 is freaking awesome. Thank you so much for watching. If you've seen Madam Web, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Is it better or worse than Morbius? That is the question. I think we all know the answer. It's Morbin time. As always, I appreciate your love and support, and I'll catch you guys and gals in the next one.